The sound of shattering glass echoed through the marble hallway of the Foster estate, followed by a child's scream that turned Amara Washington's blood cold. She stood at the massive front door, rain streaming down her dark skin, soaking through her blue blazer, her hands still raised to knock. Through the tall windows she could see a young boy, maybe 10 years old, throwing picture frames against the wall while a man in an expensive suit stood frozen, hands over his face. This was the house. This was the job. This was the disaster she'd been sent to fix. "Miss, you shouldn't be here." A tired-looking woman in a gray dress appeared at the door. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "The position's been filled." Well, it was filled. She quit this morning. 6th nanny in 8 months. Amara didn't move from the doorstep. Inside, the boy had collapsed on the floor, sobbing. A little girl's voice called out from somewhere upstairs, small and broken, "I want mommy." "I'm here for the position," Amara said quietly. "The agency sent me." The woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Chin, the estate manager, shook her head. "Dear, you seem like a nice person. Run. This house will break your heart. Those children are in so much pain, and Mr. Foster, he's drowning. He can't reach them. Nobody can. Every person we hire leaves within 2 weeks, and they're professionals with 20 years of experience." Through the window, Amara watched the man, Julian Foster, finally move toward his son. The boy shoved him away. "I hate you. You let her die. You let mommy die." The words hung in the air like poison. Amara had read the file on the train ride over. Julian Foster, 38, widowed 2 years ago when his wife Rachel died in a car accident. Left with 2 children, Tyler, 10, and Becca, 7. Worth billions from his tech company. Living in one of the largest estates in the city. On paper, he had everything. In reality, she could see through the window that he had nothing except 2 children who were drowning in grief and a house that echoed with absence. "I'll take the job," Amara said. Mrs. Chin stared at her. "You don't understand. Tyler broke his last teacher's arm. Becca hasn't spoken in school for 4 months. Mr. Foster works 18-hour days because he can't bear to be home. The staff tiptoes around like they're in a graveyard. This isn't a job. It's a tragedy. Then they need help." Amara met the older woman's eyes. "And I'm here to give it." Something in her voice must have convinced Mrs. Chen because the woman sighed and opened the door wider. "Your funeral, dear. But I'll warn you, don't expect gratitude. Don't expect warmth. Don't expect anything except heartbreak." Amara stepped inside just as another crash sounded from the living room. She walked toward the noise, her wet shoes squeaking on the polished floor. Julian Foster looked up as she entered. His eyes were hollow, his expensive white shirt wrinkled and partially unbuttoned. He hadn't shaved in days. This was not the confident billionaire from the magazine covers. This was a man who'd forgotten how to live. "Who are you?" His voice was rough. "Amara Washington. The agency sent me. I'm here about the nanny position." Tyler stopped crying long enough to glare at her. "We don't want you here. Leave." "Tyler," Julian's voice held a warning, but there was no strength behind it. Amara knelt down, ignoring the shards of broken glass around her. She looked at the boy's tear-stained face, at the rage and pain burning in his young eyes. "You miss your mom." "Don't talk about my mom." Tyler's voice cracked. "You don't know anything." "You're right. I don't know your mom. But I know what it feels like when someone you love disappears and the whole world expects you to just keep going like nothing happened." Tyler's eyes widened slightly. Julian took a step forward. "I lost my dad when I was 9, Amara continued softly. "Heart attack. 1 minute he was teaching me to ride a bike, the next minute he was gone. And everyone kept telling me to be strong, to be brave, to move on. But I didn't want to move on. I wanted my dad back." The room had gone quiet except for the rain against the windows. "What happened?" Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. "I was angry for a long time. I broke things too. Pushed people away. Until my grandmother sat me down and said something I'll never forget. Grief isn't something you get over. It's something you learn to carry. And you don't have to carry it alone." Upstairs, a door creaked open. Small footsteps on the stairs. Amara glanced up to see a little girl in a pink nightgown peering through the banister, her dark curls tangled, her face pale and thin. "Becca," Julian's voice broke. "Sweetheart, go back to bed." But Becca didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on Amara. Amara smiled at her. "Hi, Becca. I'm Amara. I heard you haven't been eating much. That must make you feel pretty weak." Becca's lip trembled. She clutched a worn stuffed rabbit to her chest. "I get it," Amara said. "Sometimes when we're sad, food doesn't taste like anything. Sometimes we feel like we don't deserve to feel good, even for a minute. But your body needs fuel, honey. Your mom would want you to be strong. Don't tell her what our mom would want, Tyler snapped, but his voice had lost its edge. You didn't know her. You're absolutely right. So why don't you tell me about her? Amara looked between the two children and their father. Why don't you all tell me about Rachel Foster? Because I'd really like to know about the woman who raised such brave kids. Julian made a sound, something between a laugh and a sob. He sat down heavily on the couch, his head in his hands. I can't talk about her. Every time I try, Then don't. Not today. Amara stood up slowly. But someday when you're ready, I'll listen. All of you. For as long as you need. Mrs. Chin appeared in the doorway. Mr. Foster, should I prepare the guest room for Miss Washington? Julian looked up at Amara with eyes that held the faintest spark of something. Hope maybe. Or just exhaustion. You're really staying? After seeing all this? I'm staying. Why? Tyler demanded. Everyone leaves. Everyone gives up on us. Amara looked at the broken child, then at his sister on the stairs, then at their father who'd forgotten how to be human. Because you need someone who won't give up. And because I think underneath all this pain you're a family worth fighting for. The silence that followed was different from before. It wasn't empty. It was full of possibility. The position pays well, Julian said quietly. But it's not about money. I need someone who can reach them. Someone who can help them heal. Can you do that? I can try. But I can't do it alone. I'll need your help too. Julian's jaw tightened. I'm not very good at this anymore. I don't know how to be their father without their mother. Then we'll figure it out together. But it means you have to be present. Not working 18 hours a day. Not hiding in your office. Here. With them. For a long moment, Julian just stared at her. Then slowly he nodded. Okay. I'll try. I'll really try this time. He stood up, walked past the broken glass and extended his hand to Amara. When can you start? Right now. She shook his hand. His grip was firm, desperate. First thing, everyone needs sleep. Real sleep. Tyler, can you help me clean up this glass? Tyler looked surprised. You're not going to yell at me? For being in pain? No. But I am going to teach you better ways to let it out. Tomorrow we'll find a punching bag or something. Deal? After a pause, Tyler nodded. He started picking up larger pieces of glass while Amara got a broom from Mrs. Chen. Becca, Amara called up the stairs. Will you come down and keep me company while I sweep? You don't have to talk. Just sit with me? Becca hesitated, then slowly descended the stairs. She sat on the bottom step, hugging her rabbit, watching Amara work. As Amara swept, she hummed quietly. An old gospel song her grandmother used to sing. The melody filled the hollow spaces of the house. By the time the glass was cleaned up, Tyler had stopped crying. Becca's eyes were starting to close. Julian stood by the window, his shoulders slightly less tense. Mr. Foster, Amara said. Do you have food in the house? The cook keeps the kitchen stocked. Good. I'm going to make warm milk and cookies. Then everyone's going to bed. Tomorrow we start fresh. It's almost midnight, Julian said. I know. But nobody's sleeping tonight anyway, are they? She looked at the children. Might as well have cookies. For the first time in what must have been forever, Tyler smiled. Just a little. But it was there. In the kitchen, Amara found everything she needed. As she mixed dough, the children drifted in. Becca climbed onto a stool to watch. Tyler leaned against the counter, pretending he didn't care but unable to look away. Julian stood in the doorway, as if afraid to come closer to this moment of ordinary peace. You can help, you know, Amara said to him. Grief doesn't mean you stop living. It means you learn to live differently. Julian took a tentative step into the kitchen. Then another. He picked up a cookie cutter. Rachel used to make cookies every Sunday. The kids loved it. Becca's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't run away. She reached for her father's hand. And there, in that bright kitchen at midnight, with rain still falling outside, a broken family took its first small step toward healing. They cut out cookie shapes together. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. When the cookies came out of the oven, golden and perfect, Amara poured 4 glasses of milk. They sat at the kitchen table, the 4 of them, and ate in silence that didn't feel lonely anymore. Thank you, Julian whispered to Amara as the children munched their treats. For staying. For not running away. Thank you for letting me in, Amara replied. This is just the beginning, Mr. Foster. It's going to be hard. But I promise you it's going to be worth it. Mrs. Chen, watching from the hallway, shook her head in wonder. In one night, This woman had done what 6 nannies couldn't do in months. She'd given them hope. As Amara helped Becca back upstairs and tucked her into bed, the little girl finally spoke. Her voice was tiny, rusty from disuse. "Will you be here tomorrow?" Amara smoothed the hair from Becca's forehead. "I'll be here tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. As long as you need me. Promise?" "I promise, sweetheart." Becca closed her eyes, her rabbit tucked under her chin. For the first time in months, she fell asleep without crying. Down the hall, Tyler was already in bed when Amara knocked softly. "I don't need tucking in," he called out. "I'm not a baby." "I know. I just wanted to say good night." Pause. Then, "Good night, Amara." She smiled. It was a start. In the master bedroom, Julian sat on the edge of his bed, holding a photograph of Rachel. Beautiful, smiling, alive. He heard Amara's footsteps in the hallway, heard her door close. For the first time since Rachel died, Julian didn't work until he passed out from exhaustion. He didn't sit up all night staring at photos and wondering where everything went wrong. He set the picture on the nightstand, turned off the light, and slept. Not well, but better than he had in 2 years. Outside, the storm began to clear. By morning, there would be sunshine. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to walk into a stranger's broken world and become their only hope? Before you keep reading, take a moment to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have stayed in that house after seeing all that pain? Would you have had the courage to try? Morning light flooded through the massive windows of the Foster estate, painting everything in shades of gold and blue. Amara woke at 6, her internal clock refusing to adjust to the luxury of sleeping in. Her room was bigger than her entire apartment back in the city. A 4-poster bed, silk curtains, artwork on the walls that probably cost more than her car. But she barely noticed the elegance. Her mind was on the children. She dressed in a comfortable green sweater and jeans, something warm and approachable. Not the formal uniform Mrs. Chen had laid out. Those children didn't need another stern authority figure. They needed someone real. The hallway was quiet as she made her way downstairs. Too quiet. She found Mrs. Chen in the kitchen, preparing breakfast with mechanical efficiency. "The children won't eat," the estate manager said without preamble. "Tyler usually grabs a granola bar and runs to his room. Becca won't come down at all." Mr. Foster left for the office at 5:30. Amara felt a flicker of disappointment. Julian had promised to try. But old habits died hard. "What does Becca like?" Amara asked. Mrs. Chen paused. Before her mother passed, she loved pancakes shaped like animals. Rachel used to make them every Saturday. But I tried that once. Becca cried for 3 hours. Because it reminded her of what she lost. Exactly. So now I make plain oatmeal. Nobody cries over oatmeal. Amara looked at the sad pot of beige mush on the stove. Nobody gets excited about it either. Let me try something. She searched through the pantry until she found what she needed. Flour, eggs, milk, chocolate chips, strawberries. She started mixing, ignoring Mrs. Chen's worried expression. "Miss Washington, I really don't think." "Trust me." 20 minutes later, Amara had created a plate of perfectly golden pancakes. Not shaped like anything special. Just simple, circular, warm. She drizzled them with syrup, added fresh strawberries on the side, and placed a small handful of chocolate chips in a bowl. Optional toppings. The choice was theirs. She carried the plate upstairs to Becca's room. The door was closed. She knocked gently. "Becca, I brought breakfast. I'm going to leave it outside your door, okay? You don't have to eat it if you don't want to. But it's here if you change your mind." No response. Amara set the plate down and went back downstairs. She found Tyler in the den, staring at a video game screen without actually playing. The controller sat idle in his hands. "Hey Tyler. I made extra pancakes if you're hungry." "Not hungry." "Okay. But I'm eating in the kitchen if you want company." She left him there and returned to the bright, airy kitchen. She made herself a plate and sat at the counter eating slowly, savoring each bite. After a few minutes, she heard footsteps. Tyler appeared in the doorway trying to look casual. "I guess I could eat a little." Amara smiled. "Help yourself. There's chocolate chips if you want them." Tyler made himself a plate and sat 2 stools away from her. They ate in silence for a while. Then he spoke, his voice small. "My dad left early again." "I know. He always does. He can't stand being here." Amara chose her words carefully. "I think your dad is in pain too. Sometimes adults don't handle grief any better than kids do. They just hide it differently. By running away? By staying busy. By pretending they're okay when they're not." She looked at Tyler directly. "But that's going to change. I'm going to help him if he lets me. Nobody can help him. He's too messed up. We're all a little messed up, Tyler. That's okay. It means we're human. Upstairs, a door opened. Small feet on the hardwood floor. Becca appeared at the kitchen entrance, empty plate in hand. She'd eaten every bite. Was it good? Amara asked gently. Becca nodded, a tiny movement. Want more? Another nod. Amara made a fresh batch, and this time Becca sat at the counter with them. 3 people eating pancakes in the morning light. It wasn't everything, but it was something. After breakfast, Mrs. Chin approached Amara with a folder. This is the children's schedule. Piano lessons at 9, tutoring at 10, quiet study time until lunch, more tutoring in the afternoon. They're homeschooled since the incident at their last school. What incident? Tyler got in a fight. Becca stopped speaking. The school suggested they stay home until they were ready to return. Mrs. Chen's expression was sad. That was 11 months ago. Amara looked at the rigid schedule, at the endless list of activities designed to keep the children occupied but not actually happy. We're changing this. Miss Washington, Mr. Foster was very specific about. Mr. Foster hired me to help his children heal. And they won't heal locked in this house following a schedule made by strangers. Amara's voice was firm but kind. Today we're going to the park. Mrs. Chen's eyes widened. The park? But Tyler's tutor is coming at 10 and Becca's therapist. Call them. Reschedule. These children need sunshine and fresh air more than they need another hour of being told how to feel. Mr. Foster won't like this. Then Mr. Foster can tell me himself. Amara pulled out her phone. What's his number? 15 minutes later, Amara was connected to Julian's office. His assistant tried to run interference, but Amara was persistent. Finally, Julian's voice came through the line, tense and distracted. This isn't a good time. I'm in a meeting. Your children need you. I hired you to take care of them. I did. And now I need your permission to take them to the park. Your staff seems to think you'll object. A long pause. The park? Yes. Fresh air. Sunshine. Other children. Normal things that normal kids do. They're not normal kids. They're fragile. The media will. The media can photograph them being happy for once. Or you can keep them locked up in this house, safe and miserable. Your choice, Mr. Foster. She heard him exhale. You don't pull punches, do you? Not when it comes to children. So what's it going to be? Another pause. Then quietly, take them to the park. But stay close. Keep them safe. Always. When she told Tyler and Becca they were going out, their reactions were stark. Tyler looked suspicious. Dad never lets us leave the house except for appointments. Your dad just gave permission. Go get your shoes. Becca's eyes went wide. She ran upstairs without a word and came back down with sneakers in hand, bouncing on her toes with barely contained excitement. It broke Amara's heart that something as simple as a trip to the park could feel like such a gift to these children. The park was 10 minutes away by car. Mrs. Chin drove them in one of Julian's luxury vehicles, her hands tight on the steering wheel, clearly nervous about this breach of protocol. But when they arrived and Becca saw the playground, swings swaying in the breeze, other children laughing and playing, something shifted in her small face. She looked up at Amara, asking permission with her eyes. Go ahead, sweetheart. I'll be right here on the bench watching. Becca ran. Actually ran. Her legs pumping, hair flying behind her. She reached the swings and climbed on, kicking her legs to build momentum. Higher and higher. And then, like music, like a miracle, she laughed. Tyler stood frozen, watching his sister. I haven't heard her laugh in so long. Then go play with her. I'm too old for playgrounds. You're 10. You're exactly the right age for playgrounds. Amara gave him a gentle push. Go. Stop thinking. Just be a kid for a little while. Tyler hesitated, then jogged toward his sister. Within minutes, they were racing across the jungle gym, challenging each other to go higher on the monkey bars. Becca was chattering away, telling Tyler about the clouds, about the birds, about everything and nothing. Mrs. Chin sat down next to Amara on the bench, tears streaming down her face. I've worked for this family for 3 years. I've never seen them like this. They just needed permission to be children again. How did you know this would work? Amara watched Becca spin on the merry-go-round, arms spread wide. Because grief isn't meant to be processed in isolation. We heal in community. We heal in joy. Those children have been trapped in their sadness for so long they forgot they're allowed to feel anything else. An hour passed. Then another. Other parents smiled at the children, and a few kids around Becca's age invited her to play tag. She looked to Amara for permission and Amara nodded. Soon, Becca was running with a group of laughing 7-year-olds, her face flushed with happiness. Tyler joined a pickup basketball game with some older boys. At first he was rusty, missing shots, fumbling passes. But he didn't quit. He kept trying and his teammates encouraged him. By the end of the game he was smiling. That's when Amara noticed the photographer. A man with a professional camera, taking pictures from across the park. The foster children were recognizable. This would be in the news by tomorrow. She should have predicted this. Mrs. Chin noticed too. Oh no. Mr. Foster is going to be furious. The media attention. Let them take pictures. Let the world see these children happy for once instead of sad. Julian can deal with it. But when her phone rang an hour later and Julian's name appeared on the screen, Amara braced herself. I'm getting calls, Julian said without preamble. Photos are already online. Tyler and Becca at the park. People are asking questions. Good. Let them ask. Your children are allowed to heal publicly. They're allowed to smile. You should have warned me. Would you have said yes if I did? Silence. Then, probably not. Your children need this, Julian. They need to remember what happiness feels like. I know it's scary. I know you want to protect them from everything. But you can't protect them from life. You can only teach them how to live it. More silence. Amara could hear voices in the background, people demanding his attention. I have to go, he said finally. But Amara? Thank you. The pictures. Becca looks like herself again. I'd forgotten what that looked like. Come home early tonight. Have dinner with them. They need you there, not just your permission from afar. I'll try. Don't try. Do it. They deserve that much. When they returned to the estate, both children were exhausted but happy. Becca fell asleep in the car and Tyler had to carry her inside. The tenderness with which he handled his little sister spoke volumes about the boy underneath the anger. That evening, Amara prepared dinner. Nothing fancy. Just spaghetti and meatballs, garlic bread, salad. Comfort food. She set the table for 4, hoping Julian would keep his word. 6 o'clock came. Then 6:30. The food was getting cold. Tyler's expression turned bitter. Told you. He's not coming. Give him time. What? He never. The front door opened. Footsteps in the hallway. Julian appeared in the dining room doorway, still in his suit, looking exhausted but present. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. Tyler's mouth fell open. Becca jumped up from her chair and ran to her father, hugging him around the waist. Julian looked stunned, then slowly wrapped his arms around his daughter. Hi, baby girl. Did you have fun at the park? Becca nodded against his chest. I saw the pictures. You looked so happy. They sat down to dinner. It was awkward at first. No one knew quite what to say. But Amara asked Tyler about the basketball game, and he started describing a particularly good shot he'd made. Then Becca interrupted to talk about the new friend she'd made, a girl named Sophie who had a dog and wanted to meet again sometime. Julian listened, really listened. His phone buzzed repeatedly in his pocket, but he ignored it. Can we go back to the park tomorrow? Becca asked, her voice small but clear. If Amara thinks it's a good idea, then yes. Becca beamed. After dinner, Julian helped clear the table. When the children went upstairs to get ready for bed, he pulled Amara aside. I got a lot of calls today. Business partners, board members, even my mother-in-law. Everyone had opinions about those photos. And I don't care. For the first time in 2 years, I don't care what anyone thinks. Those pictures showed my children alive again. That's worth more than any business deal or public opinion. Amara smiled. That's growth, Mr. Foster. Julian. Please. Mr. Foster was my father. He ran a hand through his hair. I know I've been absent. I know I've been hiding. But I want to do better. I want to be the father they need. Will you help me? That's why I'm here. That night, when Amara tucked Becca into bed, the little girl held onto her hand. You're different from the other nannies. How so? You're not scared of us. And you're not scared of Daddy's money. You just care. I do care, sweetheart. Very much. Will you stay? Even when we're bad. You're not bad, Becca. You're hurting. And yes, I'll stay. I promise. Becca's eyes drifted closed, and for the second night in a row, she fell asleep without crying for her mother. Progress. Small but real. Downstairs, Julian stood in his study, looking at the photos from the park on his computer screen. His children laughing. Living. Being kids. He picked up his phone and called his office. Cancel my 7 a.m. meeting tomorrow. Actually, clear my mornings for the next 2 weeks. I need to be home for breakfast. His assistant sputtered in confusion, but Julian didn't waver. Things were changing in the foster house. Finally, beautifully changing. And it was all because one woman had decided to stay when everyone else had run away. 1 week into her time at the foster estate, Amara was starting to understand just how deep the family's wounds ran. Each morning brought small victories. Becca speaking more, Tyler's anger softening into genuine smiles, Julian actually coming home for dinner. But the rigid structure of their lives, the careful avoidance of anything that might trigger painful memories, was holding them back from real healing. It was a Tuesday morning when everything shifted. Amara woke to find a meticulously typed schedule slipped under her door. Mrs. Chen had prepared it according to the protocols established by previous caregivers. Tyler had tutoring from 9 to noon. Becca had online therapy at 1. Both children were to have structured quiet time from 2 to 4. Dinner at 6. Bed by 8. Every hour accounted for. Every moment controlled. She crumpled the paper and threw it in the trash. In the kitchen, she found both children eating cereal in silence, their faces blank. Julian had already left for work, despite his promise to have breakfast with them. Old patterns were hard to break. "Good morning," Amara said cheerfully. "How would you two feel about skipping your lessons today?" Tyler looked up, suspicious. "What do you mean?" "I mean it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. And I think we should go on an adventure." "We can't," Becca said quietly. "We have our schedule. Schedules can be changed. That's the wonderful thing about being human. We get to make choices." "Dad won't like it," Tyler warned. "He's very strict about our education." "Then let me worry about your dad. Right now I'm asking you, what would you rather do today? Sit at a desk doing worksheets, or come with me to do something fun?" The children exchanged glances. A silent conversation passed between them. "What kind of adventure?" Tyler asked, trying to sound uninterested but failing. Amara pulled out her phone and showed them a website. "There's a community farm about 30 minutes from here. They have animals you can feed, gardens you can explore, and they're hosting a volunteer day today. People come to help harvest vegetables for the local food bank. I thought maybe we could go, get our hands dirty, do something good for others." Becca's eyes lit up. "Real animals? Like goats and chickens? And a very friendly donkey named Charlie. Can we really go?" Becca's voice was filled with hope and disbelief. "If you want to, absolutely." Tyler hesitated. "But our tutors are expecting us. And Dad's rules are meant to protect you, I know. But sometimes protection can become a prison." Amara knelt down to their level. "Your dad loves you. He's terrified of losing you, so he tries to control everything. But you can't live your lives in fear. You have to trust that it's okay to step outside the lines sometimes." An hour later, they were in the car heading to Greenfield Community Farm. Mrs. Chen had tried to object, citing protocols and Mr. Foster's explicit instructions. But Amara had stood firm. "If Julian has a problem with this, he can call me directly. But those children need more than tutors and therapy sessions. They need life." The farm was exactly what the children needed. Wide open spaces, fresh air that smelled like earth and growing things, and animals that didn't care about schedules or grief. They just wanted attention and snacks. Becca ran straight to the goat pen, laughing as the animals nuzzled her hands looking for treats. Tyler was more cautious, but when a small piglet escaped its enclosure and he had to chase it down, his laughter echoed across the fields. The farm director, a kind woman named Ms. Rodriguez, put them to work harvesting tomatoes. She showed them how to check for ripeness, how to pick without damaging the plant. Simple work. Honest work. The kind that made you feel useful. As they worked, Becca started talking about her mother. Not sadly this time, but with fondness. "Mommy used to have a little garden. She grew herbs and strawberries. She said she wasn't very good at it, but I thought her strawberries were the best in the world." Tyler wiped sweat from his forehead. "Remember when she accidentally grew zucchini that were as big as my arm? And she tried to make bread with them, but it came out all weird and we had to order pizza instead." Both children giggled at the memory. Amara's heart swelled. This was healing. Real, messy, beautiful healing. They spent 4 hours at the farm. By the time they loaded into the car, all 3 of them were covered in dirt, smelling like farm animals and grinning from ear to ear. The trunk was full of vegetables they'd been allowed to take home. "That was the best day ever," Becca declared from the back seat. "Better than video games," Tyler admitted. "Don't tell anyone I said that." Amara was smiling as she drove, feeling triumphant, when her phone rang. Julian's name flashed on the screen. Her stomach dropped slightly, but she answered. Amara. His voice was tight, controlled. Where are you? On our way back from the community farm. The farm. Yes. We spent the day volunteering, harvesting vegetables for. I know what you did. Mrs. Chin called me. 3 times. The children's tutors showed up to an empty house. Becca's therapist had to reschedule. You completely disregarded the schedule I set up for them. I did. Without consulting me. I tried calling you this morning. Your assistant said you were in back-to-back meetings. Pause. That doesn't give you permission to just change everything. You're right. I should have pushed harder to reach you. But Julian, those children needed this. They needed to feel normal, to remember that life can be joyful, to do something good for others instead of just sitting in this house drowning in structure and sadness. They have responsibilities. They're falling behind in their studies. They're falling behind in their childhoods. Amara's voice was gentle but firm. Tyler is 10. Becca is 7. They should be playing, exploring, making messes. Not sitting through 6 hours of tutoring every day like they're preparing for college. I'm trying to protect them. I know. But you're also suffocating them. Silence on the line. Amara could hear Julian breathing, could imagine him in his pristine office, wrestling with anger and fear and something else. Recognition, maybe. That she was right. I need to know my children are safe. They're safe. They're with me. And they're happy, Julian. Really, genuinely happy. Don't you want that for them? More silence. Then quietly, of course I do. Then trust me. Trust them. Come home early today and see for yourself. I can't just leave work whenever. Yes, you can. You're the boss. Use that power to be present for your children. She could hear him exhale a long, shaky breath. You're very pushy, you know that? It's one of my better qualities. I'll be home by 5. We'll be waiting. When they arrived back at the estate, the children raced inside to show Mrs. Chen the vegetables. The estate manager looked at their dirty clothes and mud-streaked faces with a mixture of horror and reluctant affection. Look at you 3. You need baths immediately. But first, a snack, Amara insisted. All that hard work requires fuel. They sat at the kitchen counter, eating apple slices and peanut butter, while the children told Mrs. Chen about Charlie the donkey and the great piglet chase and the rows and rows of tomato plants. It sounds wonderful, Mrs. Chen admitted. But Mr. Foster was quite upset when I called him. He'll get over it, Amara said confidently. At 4:30, Amara sent the children upstairs to clean up. By 4:45, they were presentable again, smelling like soap instead of farm animals. By 5 o'clock exactly, Julian walked through the front door. He looked tired, stressed, his jaw tight. But when Becca ran to hug him, calling out, "Daddy, I held a baby chick today and it was so soft and yellow," his expression softened. "Did you?" And Tyler caught a runaway pig. "It was a piglet," Tyler corrected, trying to sound casual but unable to hide his pride. "And it wasn't that hard." Julian looked at Amara over the children's heads. She met his gaze steadily, unafraid. "Can I speak with you?" he asked. "In my study?" "Of course." She followed him down the hall, into a room lined with bookshelves and expensive artwork. He closed the door and turned to face her, arms crossed. "You undermined me today. I gave your children a chance to be children. They have structure for a reason. After Rachel died, everything fell apart. The only way I could function was by creating order. Schedules. Rules. Things I could control. I understand that. But Julian, you can't control grief. You can't schedule healing. It's messy. It's unpredictable. And sometimes it happens in pig pens and tomato fields." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration and exhaustion. "I was so angry when Mrs. Chen called. I wanted to fire you on the spot. Why didn't you? Because she also said something else. She said that in the 7 years she's worked for this family, she'd never seen the children look as alive as they did getting into that car this morning. And when I saw the photos she sent of them at the farm." He pulled out his phone, showed her a picture Mrs. Chen must have taken and texted him. Becca with a baby chick in her hands, face glowing with wonder. Tyler grinning, covered in mud. They look like themselves again. Like who they were before. Before they lost their mom. "I know." Amara stepped closer. "Julian, you're doing your best. But your best doesn't have to look like rigid control. It can look like trust. It can look like letting go a little bit. What if something happens to them? What if I let them out into the world and what? They might get hurt? They might feel sad? They might experience life." She put a hand on his arm. "Julian, they're already hurt. They're already sad. Keeping them locked up here isn't protecting them. It's just teaching them that the world is too dangerous to engage with. He looked down at her hand on his arm, then back up at her face. You're not like anyone I've ever met. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not sure yet. But he was almost smiling. What do you suggest? If I'm supposed to loosen the reins, what does that look like? Let them go to the farm once a week. Cancel some of the tutoring, bring in teachers who make learning fun instead of just drilling facts. Let them invite friends over. Let them be messy and loud and wrong sometimes. She paused. And spend more time with them yourself. Not as their protector or provider. Just as their dad. Julian was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Okay. I'll try it your way. But if something goes wrong, then we'll handle it together. But Julian, you have to actually commit to this. No more 18-hour workdays. No more hiding in the office. Your children need you present. I'm terrified of failing them. Then let me tell you a secret. You're already failing them by being absent. So you might as well fail while being present. At least then you'll all be together. He laughed, a sound of surprise and surrender. You really don't pull punches. Life's too short for that. When they emerged from the study, the children were waiting nervously in the living room. They looked up at their father with a mixture of hope and fear. Dad, we're sorry if we broke the rules, Tyler started. It's okay, Julian said, cutting him off. He sat down on the couch, and after a moment's hesitation, both children joined him. Actually, it's more than okay. I've been thinking about what Amara said, and she's right. I've been too strict, too controlling. I was so afraid of losing you that I forgot you need room to grow. Becca's eyes widened. So we're not in trouble? No, sweetheart. You're not in trouble. In fact, I think we should make the farm a weekly thing. If that's something you'd like. Both children nodded enthusiastically. And maybe, Julian continued, glancing at Amara for support, we could start doing other things too. Maybe go to the movies sometimes. Or the beach. Or wherever you want to go. Really? Tyler's voice was cautious, as if he didn't dare believe it. Really? I've been so focused on keeping you safe that I forgot to help you live. That changes now. Becca threw her arms around her father's neck. Tyler was more reserved, but he leaned against Julian's shoulder, and for the first time in years the three of them just sat together, holding each other. Amara watched from the doorway, her heart full. This was what she'd hoped for. This was why she'd stayed. That evening Julian ate dinner with them. And instead of rushing back to his study afterward, he stayed. They played board games. Tyler taught his father a card game he'd learned from one of the kids at the farm. Becca showed him the pictures she'd drawn of Charlie the donkey. At bedtime Julian tucked them in himself. Amara stood in the hallway, giving them privacy but close enough to hear. I love you, Dad, Becca whispered. I love you too, baby girl. More than anything. Do you think Mom would be happy we went to the farm today? Julian's voice caught. I think your mom would be thrilled. She always wanted you to be adventurous and brave and kind. Today you were all three of those things. When Julian came out of Becca's room, his eyes were red. He saw Amara and tried to compose himself, but she just smiled gently. It's okay to cry. It means you're healing too. I miss her so much. Every day. I know. But missing her doesn't mean you can't move forward. It just means you carry her with you. Julian nodded. Thank you, Amara. For pushing me. For not giving up on us. That's what I'm here for. As she walked to her own room that night, Amara felt a sense of deep satisfaction. The Foster family still had a long way to go. But they were finally moving in the right direction. Together. The photograph appeared on the front page of the city's lifestyle section 3 days later. A stunning image, Tyler and Becca Foster, children of tech billionaire Julian Foster, volunteering at Greenfield Community Farm. Becca was feeding a goat, her face radiant with joy. Tyler stood beside her, muddy jeans and a genuine smile, holding a basket of freshly picked tomatoes. The headline read, From Tragedy to Triumph, Foster Children Find Healing Through Service. Amara saw it when she stopped for coffee on her way back from the grocery store. She bought 3 copies, her stomach churning with a mixture of pride and apprehension. The article was actually quite kind, focusing on the children's resilience and the family's journey toward healing. But still, the media attention was exactly what Julian had been trying to avoid. She got back to the estate to find Julian in the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, his free hand gripping the edge of the counter. His knuckles were white. I understand your concerns, Richard, but my children's well-being is not up for debate. No, I won't be making a statement. Because it's none of the public's business. I have to go. He ended the call and looked up to see Amara in the doorway. Have you seen it? She held up the newspaper. Just picked it up. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Board members, investors, my mother-in-law. Everyone has an opinion. He grabbed the paper from her hands, staring at the photo. And I can't even be mad because look at them. They look so happy. They are happy, Julian. But now the whole city knows where. He stopped, struggling for words. Healing? Living? Being human? He set the paper down. Is that such a bad thing? Not at all. In fact, it's beautiful. She pointed to the article. Read it. Really read it. It's not exploitative. It's hopeful. People are inspired by your children's strength. Julian skimmed the article, his expression softening as he read. The journalist had interviewed Ms. Rodriguez from the farm, who spoke glowingly about the foster children's kindness and work ethic. She mentioned how Becca had sung to the baby animals, how Tyler had helped an elderly volunteer carry heavy baskets. They're good kids, Julian said quietly. They are. And the world is seeing that now. His phone rang again. He glanced at the screen and groaned. It's my publicist. This is the 5th time she's called. Answer it. But don't let her make you feel bad about this. He answered, putting the call on speaker. A woman's voice, sharp and efficient, filled the kitchen. Julian, we need to do damage control. The photos are everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, the news channels picked it up. We should release a statement saying this was a private family matter that shouldn't have been photographed. Why? Julian asked. The photos show my children being happy. Why would I want to control that narrative? A pause on the other end. Because it's creating questions. People want to know about the nanny. Who she is. Why she's taking your children to public places without security. There are concerns about. Her name is Amara Washington, and she's not just a nanny. She's a family manager. And she has my complete trust and support. Julian's voice was firm. People have questions they can wonder. I'm not explaining my family's private decisions to the media. Julian, I understand you're protective, but we need to think about your company's image. Investors don't like uncertainty. Then they can invest elsewhere. My priority is my children, not stock prices. He looked at Amara and she nodded encouragingly. I won't be making any statements. If the media wants to cover my children finding joy again, let them. Maybe it will inspire other grieving families. His publicist sputtered. This is highly irregular. Good. We're done being regular. He ended the call and turned off his phone entirely. There. Problem solved. Amara couldn't help but smile. I'm proud of you. For turning off my phone? For choosing your family over your image. The children came running into the kitchen, having heard the commotion. Dad, we're famous, Tyler announced, waving his own phone. Lucas from basketball camp texted me. He saw us in the newspaper. Is that okay? Becca asked nervously. We didn't mean to cause trouble. Julian knelt down, pulling both children into a hug. You didn't cause any trouble. You were being yourselves. Kind, hardworking, beautiful selves. I'm proud of you. Can we go back to the farm next week? Becca asked hopefully. Absolutely. In fact, I was thinking maybe I should come with you this time. Both children's eyes widened. Really? Tyler asked. Really? If Amara doesn't mind an extra volunteer. Amara grinned. The more the merrier. Over the next few days, the media coverage intensified. More photos appeared, these taken by people at the farm who'd recognized the foster children. One showed Tyler patiently teaching a younger child how to feed the chickens. Another captured Becca hugging Amara, both of them laughing. That photo, in particular, sparked conversation. Social media lit up with people praising Amara, speculating about who she was, why she was so different from previous nannies. Some comments were kind. Others were invasive, questioning her qualifications, her background, her motives. Julian noticed Amara scrolling through her phone one evening, her expression troubled. Don't read the comments, he advised. They're poison. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about you and the children. Some of these people are cruel. They're saying you're replacing Rachel. People will always talk. But they don't know us. They don't know what we've been through or what we need. He sat down beside her on the living room couch. For what it's worth, Rachel would have liked you. Amara looked up, surprised. You think so? I know so. She believed in kindness above everything else. She would have seen what you're doing for our family and been grateful. He paused. I know I am. I'm just doing my job. It's more than that. You genuinely care about them. About us. His eyes held hers for a moment longer than necessary. That's rare. Before Amara could respond, Tyler burst into the room. Dad, you have to see this. He pulled up a news segment on his phone. A local morning show had done a feature on families helping at community farms, directly inspired by the foster children's example. 3 other families had shown up to volunteer that week, bringing the total number of participants to record levels. We started something good, Tyler said, his voice filled with wonder. You did, Julian agreed. And that's something to be proud of. The following Tuesday they all went to the farm together. Julian dressed down in jeans and a plain blue t-shirt, looking more relaxed than Amara had ever seen him. When photographers showed up, he didn't hide or call security. He simply waved and went back to harvesting squash with Becca. The photos from that day were different. They showed a complete family. A father and his children working together, smiling together, healing together. And Amara always slightly to the side, watching over them with quiet love. That evening as they drove home, all 4 of them tired and happy, Julian made an announcement. I've been thinking. Amara, I want to promote you from household manager to family coordinator. With a significant raise, of course. That's not necessary, Amara started to say. Yes, it is. You've transformed this family. You've helped us remember how to live. That deserves recognition and appropriate compensation. Julian, please, let me do this. It's a small way to show my gratitude. Amara thought about the money she could send to her mother, who'd been struggling since Amara's father died. The community center she'd always dreamed of opening someday. Okay, thank you. I accept. In the back seat, Tyler and Becca high-fived each other. Does this mean you're staying? Becca asked. For as long as you'll have me, Amara promised. That night, after the children were in bed, Julian found Amara on the back terrace, looking out at the estate's gardens. The moon was full, painting everything in silver light. Can I join you? He asked. Of course. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Julian spoke. I've been thinking about what you said. About letting go. Trusting more. And I realized I've been so focused on protecting my children from pain that I forgot to teach them how to find joy. You're learning. That's what matters. Because of you. He turned to face her. Amara, I don't know how to thank you properly. You've given me my family back. You already had them. I just helped you see them again. He smiled, and in that moment, under the moonlight, something shifted between them. A recognition. An awareness. But neither spoke of it. Not yet. I should go to bed, Amara said, suddenly nervous. Long day tomorrow. Of course. Good night, Amara. Good night, Julian. As she walked back inside, she felt his eyes following her. And for the first time she allowed herself to wonder, what if this was more than just a job? What if this family was becoming hers in ways she hadn't anticipated? But she pushed the thought away. Was too soon. Too complicated. Too impossible. Or was it? 3 months had passed since Amara arrived at the Foster estate. Spring had given way to early summer, and the house that once echoed with silence now rang with laughter and conversation. The rigid schedules had been replaced with flexible routines that accommodated both responsibility and joy. Tyler was excelling in a new school he'd agreed to try, Becca was speaking freely and making friends, and Julian had reduced his work hours to spend mornings with his family. But there was still one wall none of them had fully broken through, talking about Rachel. Her presence was everywhere. In the family photos that lined the hallways. In the children's memories. In the quiet moments when grief would suddenly wash over them. But they rarely spoke about her directly, as if saying her name out loud might shatter the fragile peace they'd built. It was Becca who finally brought it up one evening at dinner. Sophie asked me today what my mom was like, she said quietly, pushing pasta around her plate. And I didn't know what to say. The table went silent. Julian's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Tyler stared down at his food. What did you tell her? Amara asked gently. I said she was nice. But that's not enough, is it? Mom was more than nice. She was. Becca's eyes filled with tears. I'm forgetting her. I can't remember her voice anymore. I try so hard, but it's getting quieter and quieter in my head. Julian pushed his chair back abruptly and stood. Excuse me. He left the dining room, his footsteps heavy on the stairs. Tyler glared at his sister. Why did you have to bring that up? Because I need to talk about her, Becca shot back, tears streaming down her face. Don't you miss her? Of course I miss her. But talking about it just makes it worse. No, it doesn't, Amara interjected quietly. Keeping it inside makes it worse. Talking about her keeps her alive in your hearts. Then why did Dad leave? Tyler demanded. If talking about her is so great, why can't he even stay at the table when she's mentioned? Because he's hurting too. And he hasn't learned yet how to carry that hurt out loud. Amara stood. Stay here. Finish your dinner. I'm going to check on him. She found Julian in his study staring at a photograph. It was a picture from what must have been a family vacation. Rachel was in the center, wind-blown and laughing, her arms around both children. Julian stood beside her, his expression filled with uncomplicated happiness. She was beautiful, Amara said softly from the doorway. Julian didn't turn around. That was our last vacation together. We went to the coast. Rachel had always loved the ocean. She said it made her feel small in the best way. Like all her worries were just tiny things compared to the vastness of the water. Tell me about her. Why? His voice was harsh. So you can fix this too? There's no fixing death, Amara. I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm just trying to understand. To know the woman who made you who you are. Who gave you those incredible children. He finally turned to face her, his eyes red. It's too hard. Every memory is a knife. Then maybe it's time to let yourself bleed a little. You've been holding it all in for 2 years. That's not strength, Julian. That's just postponing the pain. He collapsed into his desk chair, putting his head in his hands. I don't know how to do this. Start with one story. Just one. What's a memory of Rachel that makes you smile? Julian was quiet for so long that Amara thought he wouldn't answer. Then, softly, he began to speak. She couldn't cook to save her life. Absolutely terrible in the kitchen. But she tried so hard. There was this one time, early in our marriage, she decided to make me a birthday dinner. Something fancy. She spent the whole day preparing this elaborate meal. When I got home, the kitchen looked like a war zone. There was flour on the ceiling. Somehow. And the main course was so burnt it was inedible. She cried. She felt like she'd ruined my birthday. A small smile tugged at his lips. But then she ordered pizza, put candles in it, and we had the best birthday dinner of my life sitting on our apartment floor, laughing about the smoke detector she'd set off 3 times. Amara sat down across from him. She sounds wonderful. She was. She was spontaneous and creative and terrible at practical things but brilliant at making people feel loved. His voice broke. And I can't believe she's gone. 2 years later and I still can't believe it. Of course you can't. Because love doesn't have an expiration date. You're allowed to grieve her forever. But the children need me to be strong. The children need you to be human. They need to see that it's okay to remember, to hurt, to talk about her. Right now, Becca is downstairs terrified that she's forgetting her mother. And Tyler is angry because he thinks he has to hold all his pain inside. They're learning those behaviors from you. Julian looked stricken. I've been hurting them. Not on purpose. But yes. By refusing to talk about Rachel, you're teaching them that grief is something shameful. Something to hide. He stood abruptly. Come with me. He led her back downstairs to the dining room, where Tyler and Becca sat in tense silence, their dinners barely touched. Julian sat back down at the head of the table. I'm sorry, he said. Becca, you asked what to tell people about your mom and I ran away instead of helping you answer. That was wrong. Becca looked up at him with hopeful, tear-filled eyes. I just want to remember her right. Then let's remember her together. Julian took a deep breath. Your mom was brilliant and kind and absolutely terrible at cooking. Tyler let out a surprised laugh. Remember the Great Thanksgiving disaster? Oh God, Julian groaned. She put the turkey in upside down. And forgot to take the giblets out, Tyler added. What are giblets? Becca asked. Trust me, you don't want to know, Tyler said. But the whole house smelled like burnt plastic and we had to order Chinese food. Mom cried, Becca remembered quietly. But then she laughed. She always laughed, Julian said softly. Even when things went wrong. Especially when things went wrong. Tell me about her voice, Becca pleaded. What did she sound like? Julian pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking as he scrolled through files. I have videos. I haven't been able to watch them. But maybe we should. He found one and pressed play. Rachel's voice filled the room, warm and full of life. She was filming the children building a snowman, encouraging them, laughing as snow fell on her camera lens. Look how big you're making him. Oh, he needs a carrot nose. And maybe some stick arms. Becca started crying but she was smiling too. I remember that day. You made us hot chocolate after. With extra marshmallows, Rachel's voice said from the video as if answering from beyond. Because nobody can build a snowman without proper hot chocolate. They watched 3 more videos. In one, Rachel was dancing in the kitchen while making pancakes, singing off-key. In another, she was reading to Becca at bedtime, doing funny voices for all the characters. In the last one, she was giving a tour of her pathetic garden, pointing out all the ways her plants were dying despite her best efforts. "I'm a terrible gardener," Rachel admitted cheerfully. "But I keep trying. That's the important part, right? Trying. Even when you're bad at something." Tyler was crying now too, but he didn't seem to mind. She never gave up. Even when she failed at stuff, she just kept trying. "That's how I want to be," Becca said. "Brave like Mom." Julian closed the video and looked at his children, really looked at them. "Your mom would be so proud of you both. Of how strong you've been. How kind. She always said that kindness was the most important thing in the world. And you too, you're the kindest kids I know." "You're kind too, Dad," Tyler said. "You're just sad." "I'm sad. And that's okay. We're all sad. We're allowed to be sad and happy at the same time." They finished dinner together, this time with conversation flowing freely. The children told stories about their mom. Julian shared memories he'd been holding onto for 2 years. Amara listened, bearing witness to this family's grief and love. After the children went to bed, Amara helped Julian clean up the kitchen. They worked in comfortable silence, loading the dishwasher, wiping down counters. "Thank you," Julian said quietly. "For pushing me. For not letting me hide. You don't have to hide anymore. From them or from yourself. I've been so afraid. Of forgetting her. Of moving on. Of betraying her memory. Healing isn't betrayal. Rachel wouldn't want you frozen in grief." Julian turned to face her, leaning against the counter. "How do you always know the right thing to say?" "I don't. I just try to say what I wish someone had said to me when I lost my dad." "Your grandmother was wise. She was. She taught me that grief is love with nowhere to go. And the only way to survive it is to find new places for that love to flow." Julian looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable in his eyes. "Where does your love flow now?" The question hung in the air between them. Amara felt her heart beat faster. "To the people who need it. To your children. To this family. And to me." His voice was barely a whisper. Amara's breath caught. She wasn't sure how to answer that. Because yes, somewhere along the way she'd started to care about Julian Foster as more than just her employer. She'd started to care about his healing, his happiness, his heart. But it was too soon. Too complicated. So instead of answering directly, she smiled softly and said, "Get some rest, Julian. Tomorrow's a new day." She left him standing in the kitchen, both of them aware that something had shifted but neither ready to name it. In her room, Amara lay awake thinking about the Foster family. About how broken they'd been when she arrived and how whole they were becoming. About the way Julian had looked at her in the kitchen, like she was something precious. She was falling for him. She knew that now. And it terrified her. But for tonight, she pushed those feelings aside and focused on gratitude. Gratitude that she'd been given the chance to help this family heal. Gratitude for their trust. Gratitude for the love she'd found in this house in whatever form it took. Tomorrow she'd worry about what that love meant. Tonight she just let herself feel it. The doorbell rang at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, piercing the peaceful quiet of breakfast. Tyler looked up from his pancakes, alert. "Who visits this early?" Amara was at the stove, flipping another batch of blueberry pancakes. Julian had just come downstairs, still in casual clothes, hair slightly messed from sleep. They'd fallen into a comfortable routine over the past month, these Saturday breakfasts together. Lazy mornings with no schedule, no pressure. Just family time. Mrs. Chin answered the door and moments later, they heard her surprised voice echoing through the foyer. "Mrs. Morrison. We weren't expecting you." Julian's entire body tensed. "Patricia." "Who's Patricia?" Becca asked. "Your grandmother. My wife's mother." Julian's voice had gone flat. He stood slowly and headed toward the front hall. Amara turned off the stove and followed, a protective instinct kicking in. In the foyer stood a woman in her early 60s, impeccably dressed in a navy suit. Her hair was silver and pulled back in an elegant twist. Her eyes were the same deep brown as the children's, but there was hardness in them that came from carrying too much grief. "Julian." Her voice was cool. "Patricia. This is unexpected. I should have called. But I wasn't sure you'd answer." She looked past him into the house. "Are Tyler and Becca here? I'd like to see my grandchildren." "Of course. They're having breakfast." Patricia's eyes landed on Amara, sweeping over her with obvious assessment. "And you are?" "Amara Washington. I'm the family coordinator. The nanny the papers have been talking about." It wasn't quite an accusation, but it wasn't warm either. You've caused quite a stir. That wasn't my intention. The children needed to engage with the world again. I was just helping them do that. Patricia's lips thinned. Yes, I saw the articles. My granddaughter feeding farm animals. My grandson covered in mud. Very different from the private, dignified approach I would have suggested. Julian's jaw tightened. We can discuss this later. Right now the children are waiting. They'll be happy to see you. They walked back to the kitchen where Tyler and Becca were whispering to each other, clearly aware something was happening. When they saw their grandmother, both children went still. Grandma Patricia, Tyler said cautiously. He hadn't seen her in nearly 2 years. Hello, Tyler. Becca. Patricia's voice softened slightly. Look how much you've both grown. Becca slid off her chair and approached slowly. Are you staying for breakfast? If your father doesn't mind. Julian gestured to the table. Please. Sit. Amara made plenty. The meal that followed was tense and awkward. Patricia asked the children polite questions about school, their activities, their lives. But there was a careful distance to her inquiries, as if she was conducting an interview rather than reconnecting with family. Amara served food and tried to create warmth where there was coldness. She asked Patricia about her flight, her hotel, her plans while in town. Basic courtesy that slowly thawed the ice just a bit. After breakfast, Julian suggested the children go play so he and Patricia could talk. They disappeared upstairs with obvious relief. Shall we talk in my study? Julian asked. Actually, I'd like Miss Washington to join us. This concerns her as well. Amara's stomach tightened, but she nodded and followed them to the study. Once inside, Patricia closed the door and turned to face them both. I'll be direct. I came here because I'm concerned about my grandchildren's welfare. They're doing wonderfully, Julian said. Better than they have in 2 years. According to what standard? Photos in newspapers? Random strangers commenting on their lives. Patricia's voice rose slightly. Julian, these children lost their mother. They need stability, privacy, proper grief counseling from licensed professionals. Not adventures at community farms with photographers lurking around. Those adventures have helped them heal more than 2 years of isolation and rigid structure. Or they've distracted them from properly processing their grief. Patricia pulled out her phone and showed them an article. This piece speculates about your relationship with Miss Washington. It suggests she's more than just an employee. Amara felt her cheeks heat. Julian's expression hardened. That's gossip. Completely unfounded. Perhaps. But the fact that such speculation exists is troubling. My daughter has been gone for 2 years. Some might think it's too soon for you to have a beautiful young woman living in your home, taking on a maternal role with your children. I'm not trying to replace anyone, Amara said quietly. I'm just trying to help. I'm sure you believe that. But intentions don't always align with perception. Patricia turned back to Julian. I've consulted with my attorney. I have grounds to petition for custody. The words hung in the air like a bomb. You can't be serious, Julian said, his voice dangerous. I'm absolutely serious. These children need a stable home environment. I can provide that. They have a stable home. With me. Their father. A father who works constantly, who relies on staff to raise his children, who allows them to be paraded in front of cameras. Patricia's voice cracked slightly. Julian, I loved my daughter. And I made her a promise before she died. I promised I'd make sure Tyler and Becca were taken care of. I can't stand by and watch you make choices that might harm them. Julian's face had gone pale. What promise? Rachel never asked you to take our children. Not explicitly. But she worried about you. About how consumed you were with work. About whether you'd be able to handle raising them alone if something happened to her. That's not fair. Rachel and I made decisions together. She knew I loved our children. Loving them isn't the same as being present for them. And from what I've read in these articles, it's Miss Washington who's been present, not you. Amara couldn't stay silent anymore. That's not true. Julian has been working incredibly hard to be there for Tyler and Becca. He has breakfast with them every morning now. He comes home for dinner. He goes to their school events. He's learning how to be a single parent, and he's doing a beautiful job of it. Patricia looked at her with something like pity. You care about him. I can see that. But caring about someone doesn't mean enabling their mistakes. With respect, Mrs. Morrison, the only mistake would be tearing these children away from their father. They're healing. They're happy. Don't undo that because of old grievances. Old grievances? Patricia's voice shook. My daughter died because she was rushing home from one of Julian's work events. She was driving too fast on a wet road because he'd called her, stressed and needing her, and she left her book club to go to him. If he'd been less demanding, less dependent on her, she might still be alive. The room went silent. Julian looked like he'd been slapped. "You blame me," he said softly. "All this time you've blamed me for Rachel's death. I blame circumstances. I blame fate. I blame the rain in the road and the other driver who swerved into her lane. But yes, Julian, part of me blames you too. Because she was always putting your needs first. And that night it cost her everything." Tears were streaming down Patricia's face now. All her composure had crumbled, revealing the raw grief underneath. Amara stepped forward. "Mrs. Morrison, may I say something? And please, hear me out completely before you respond." Patricia nodded, wiping her eyes. "You're right that Rachel was always putting others first. But that's who she was, not who Julian made her be. I've watched videos of her. I've heard stories. She was generous and giving by nature. She chose to help Julian that night because she loved him. Not because he forced her hand. That doesn't absolve him. No. But neither does it condemn him. Julian has carried guilt for 2 years. He's punished himself more than you ever could. He isolated himself and his children because he thought that's what he deserved. It's taken months to help him understand that healing isn't betrayal. That living isn't dishonoring Rachel's memory." Patricia looked at Julian, really looked at him for the first time. "Is that true?" Julian nodded, his voice rough. "I've hated myself every day since that accident. Every decision I've made has been filtered through guilt. Should I laugh? Should I enjoy anything? Should I move forward at all? Because moving forward felt like leaving her behind. And now?" Patricia asked. "Now I'm trying to figure out how to honor her by being the father she wanted me to be. Present. Engaged. Loving our children the way she loved them. Amara has helped me see that I can do that. That I should do that." Patricia sat down heavily in one of the leather chairs. "I've been so angry. At the universe. At God. At you. I needed someone to blame because the alternative was accepting that sometimes terrible things just happen to good people." "I understand that," Julian said softly. He knelt beside her chair. "Patricia, I loved Rachel with everything I had. I still love her. And I'm trying so hard to be worthy of the children she gave me. Please don't take them away. They need me and I need them." Patricia looked at him for a long moment, then placed her hand on his. "I need to see it for myself. Not speculation in newspapers. Not your promises. I need to spend time with them. See how they're really doing." "Stay," Julian said immediately. "Stay here. As long as you need. See everything. Ask them anything. And then decide if you truly believe they're better off without me." Patricia nodded slowly. "All right. I'll stay for a week. But Julian, if I see any sign that they're not being properly cared for, if I see any indication that this arrangement isn't in their best interest, I will follow through with the custody petition." "Fair enough." They called the children down and explained that Grandma Patricia would be staying for a while. Both Tyler and Becca were hesitant but accepting. Patricia hugged them carefully as if afraid they might break. Over the next few days, Patricia became a quiet observer in the Foster household. She watched breakfast routines, accompanied them to the farm, sat in on homework time. She saw how Becca climbed into Julian's lap when she was tired, how Tyler sought his father's advice on school projects. She saw the easy affection between them all, including the way the children sought out Amara for comfort and guidance. One afternoon, Patricia found Amara in the garden, reading while the children played nearby. "May I join you?" "Of course." Patricia sat on the bench beside her. "You love them. Not as an employee. As someone who genuinely cares." "I do. They've become incredibly important to me." "And Julian?" Amara paused. "Julian is a good man doing his best in impossible circumstances." "That's not what I asked." Amara met her eyes. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth. Because I need to understand what's happening in this house. Whether it's healthy for my grandchildren. The truth is that I came here to do a job. But somewhere along the way this family became mine too. I care about all of them. Deeply. Whatever form that takes, it comes from a place of genuine love and respect." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Rachel would have liked you. She always valued authenticity over perfection." "Thank you. That means a lot." "I'm not going to pursue custody," Patricia said softly. "I can see that Julian is present now. That these children are thriving. And I can see that you're a big part of why that's true." Amara felt relief wash through her. "Thank you. But I want to be involved. I want regular visits. I want to be their grandmother, not a stranger who shows up once every 2 years. I think that would be wonderful for everyone. That evening, Patricia told Julian her decision. He thanked her with genuine gratitude, and they agreed on a visitation schedule that would allow Patricia to be part of the children's lives without disrupting their stability. Before Patricia left at the end of the week, she pulled Amara aside one last time. I also came here to tell Julian something. Something Rachel made me promise before she died. What was that? She knew she was driving too fast that night. Called me right before the accident, said she was being reckless. Her last words to me were, if anything happens, make sure Julian doesn't stay alone forever. Make sure he finds someone who will love our children as much as I do. Promise me he won't close his heart. Amara's eyes widened. Did you tell him? Not yet. But I will. Patricia smiled sadly. I see how he looks at you, Amara. And I see how you look at him. Rachel's last wish was for him to find happiness again. I think she'd be glad it's with someone like you. After Patricia left, the house felt lighter. The tension that had gripped them all week dissolved. Julian seemed more at peace than Amara had ever seen him. Thank you, he said to Amara that evening. For what you said to Patricia. For defending me. I just told her the truth. Still, you didn't have to. This isn't your battle. It is though. Because this family is my battle now. Your battles are mine. Julian stepped closer. Amara, I need to tell you something. But before he could continue, Tyler called out from upstairs, needing help with homework. The moment passed. Still, as Amara helped Tyler with algebra and later tucked Becca into bed, she felt the shift. Something was building between her and Julian. Something that went beyond employer and employee. Beyond friendship. And for the first time, instead of being afraid of it, she let herself wonder what it might become. The call came at 6 a.m, jolting Julian awake. Amara heard it from her room down the hall, the urgent ring cutting through the early morning quiet. She pulled on her robe and stepped into the hallway just as Julian emerged from his room, phone pressed to his ear, his face draining of color. When did this happen? How much? No, don't say anything to the press until I get there. I'm on my way. He ended the call and saw Amara watching. There's been a hostile takeover attempt. One of my competitors has been quietly buying up shares, and they're calling for a vote to remove me as CEO. Can they do that? If they get enough shareholders on their side, yes. He ran a hand through his hair, already heading back to his room to change. I have to go to the office. No. This could destroy everything I've built. Amara followed him. What do you need? I need you to take care of the kids. Keep their routine normal. Don't tell them what's happening until we know more. He was throwing on his suit, his movements sharp and frantic. Julian breathed. You'll get through this. He stopped, looking at her. What if I don't? What if I lose the company? What if everything falls apart? Then we'll deal with it. But don't assume the worst before you even get there. Go. Fight. And remember, you're not alone. He nodded, finished dressing, and was out the door within 10 minutes. Amara kept the children's morning as normal as possible. Breakfast, homework, a trip to the park. But she could see the tension in Tyler's face. He'd heard his father on the phone. He knew something was wrong. Is Dad okay? Tyler asked as they sat on a park bench while Becca played on the swings. He's dealing with some work stuff. It's complicated, but he's handling it. Is he going to lose his company? Amara was surprised. Where did you hear that? I googled it. There are articles already. People are saying some guy named Marcus Sterling is trying to take over. Amara pulled out her phone and searched. Tyler was right. The business news was full of speculation about Foster Technologies potentially changing hands. Marcus Sterling, a ruthless competitor known for hostile acquisitions, was making his move. Your dad built that company from nothing, Amara said carefully. He's not going to let it go without a fight. What if he loses anyway? What happens to us? Tyler, look at me. She waited until he met her eyes. No matter what happens with the company, you and Becca will be fine. Your dad loves you more than any business. If he has to choose, he'll choose you every single time. I know. But he worked so hard. It's not fair. No, it's not. But life rarely is. All we can do is support him. That evening, Julian came home looking worse than Amara had ever seen him. His tie was loose, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. The children were already in bed, giving Amara time to talk to him alone. How bad is it? She asked, handing him a glass of water. Bad. Sterling has convinced several major shareholders that I'm distracted. That I'm not focused on the company anymore because I'm too busy playing house with my kids. They're using the media coverage against me. All those photos of me at the farm at the children's events. They're painting me as soft. Weak. That's ridiculous. Is it? 6 months ago, I would have been at my desk 18 hours a day. Now I'm home for dinner every night. I've missed board meetings to attend Tyler's school play. From a business perspective, Sterling has a point. From a human perspective, you've finally gotten your priorities straight. Julian sat down heavily on the couch. I'm going to lose it, Amara. The company I built from the ground up. My entire life's work. Then build something new. Something better. Something that doesn't require you to sacrifice your family. You don't understand. That company is my legacy. It's what I'm leaving for Tyler and Becca. Julian, your children don't need a billion-dollar company. They need you. Present and alive and loving them. That's the legacy that matters. He looked at her with exhausted eyes. I can't just give up. I'm not asking you to give up. I'm asking you to fight smart. Use what makes you strong. Your integrity. Your vision. Your ability to inspire people. That's how you built the company in the first place, isn't it? Over the next 2 weeks, Julian lived at the office. He was up before dawn and rarely home before midnight. Amara managed the household completely, making sure the children's lives stayed stable even as their father battled for his professional survival. But she also made sure Julian remembered what he was fighting for. Every day, she brought the children to his office for lunch. They'd sit in his conference room eating sandwiches and tell him about their day. Tyler showed him math homework. Becca drew pictures of them all together. I made this for your desk, Becca said, handing him a drawing of their family. So you remember we're proud of you no matter what happens. Julian's eyes filled with tears. He pulled both children into a hug. Thank you, sweetheart. This means everything. Amara started organizing his schedule more efficiently. She coordinated with his assistant to block out time for the truly important meetings and delegate the rest. She researched Sterling's previous acquisitions and found patterns in his tactics, information Julian could use. One night, she found him in his home office at 2 a.m, surrounded by financial reports, looking defeated. You need sleep, she said gently. I need a miracle. Then let's make one. She sat down across from him. What's your biggest advantage over Sterling? I don't have one. He has more money, more connections, more aggressive tactics. That's what you don't have. What do you have that he doesn't? Julian thought about it. People who believe in me. Employees who've been with me for years. Clients who trust the company's mission. Then use that. Remind your shareholders why they invested in you in the first place. Not because of profit margins, though those matter, but because you built a company with integrity, with values, with a vision for making technology that helps people, not just enriches investors. You think that'll work? I think it's your only shot. Sterling can promise them money, but you can promise them meaning. Julian looked at her with wonder. How do you always know exactly what to say? I don't. I just believe in you. The day of the shareholders' vote arrived. Julian spent the morning preparing his presentation. Amara helped him practice, offering feedback, boosting his confidence. Tyler and Becca insisted on making him good luck cards. Before he left for the meeting, Amara pulled him aside. Remember why you started this company. Remember what matters. And no matter what happens today, you've already won. Because you've become the father and the man you were meant to be. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Yes, you could have. I just helped you see what was already there. He hugged her, a quick, tight embrace. Then he was gone. The hours that followed were torture. Amara tried to keep the children busy, but they all felt the tension. Finally, at 4 o'clock, Julian's car pulled into the driveway. Tyler and Becca ran to the door. Amara followed more slowly, her heart pounding. Julian stepped out of the car, and for a moment, his expression was unreadable. Then he smiled. Actually smiled. I won. The children cheered, jumping on him, hugging him. He laughed and lifted them both, spinning them around. Amara felt tears of relief streaming down her face. How? I told them the truth. That I'd spent years building a company while losing sight of what mattered. That the past 6 months I'd learned to be both a father and a CEO. That those things didn't have to be in conflict. And I challenged them. Did they want to invest in a man who treated business like war, or a man who treated it like service? What did they say? 73% voted to keep me. Sterling was furious. He left before the final count was even finished. I'm so proud of you. That evening they celebrated with a special dinner. Julian was more relaxed than he'd been in weeks, laughing with his children, telling stories about the meeting, clearly energized by the victory. After the kids went to bed, he found Amara in the kitchen, cleaning up. I need to tell you something, he said. During the meeting when I was making my presentation I realized something. The only reason I won is because of you. That's not true. You won because you're brilliant and dedicated, and I won because you helped me become whole again. 6 months ago I would have lost that vote. I was a hollow man, all ambition and no heart. You taught me how to be human again. How to let people in. How to love without fear. He stepped closer and Amara's breath caught. Amara, But once again the moment was interrupted. This time by Amara's phone buzzing urgently. She glanced at it and saw her mother's number. At this hour it couldn't be good. I'm sorry, I have to take this. She answered to hear her mother's panicked voice. There'd been a fire at her mother's apartment building. No one was hurt, but the building was being evacuated. Her mother had nowhere to go. I'll be right there, Amara promised. She hung up and looked at Julian apologetically. I have to go. My mom needs me. What happened? She explained quickly. Julian didn't hesitate. Bring her here. She can stay as long as she needs. Julian, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Your mother is your family, which makes her our family too. Go get her. Bring her home. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Stop thanking me for caring about you. It's not a favor. It's just who we are now. As Amara drove to her mother's building, she thought about Julian's last words. Who we are now. A family. Not by blood but by choice. By love. And she knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Amara's mother, Gloria Washington, arrived at the Foster estate with a single suitcase and a lifetime of gratitude. She was a strong woman in her 50s, with the same warm brown eyes as her daughter and a smile that could light up a room even after facing disaster. Julian, this is my mom, Gloria. Mom, this is Julian Foster and his children, Tyler and Becca. Gloria shook Julian's hand firmly. Mr. Foster, I can't thank you enough for your generosity. I promise I won't be any trouble. Please call me Julian. And you're no trouble at all. Any family of Amara's is family of ours. Tyler and Becca crowded around Gloria with curiosity. Did your building really burn down? Tyler asked. Tyler, Amara warned. But Gloria laughed. It's all right. And yes, there was a fire. Started in someone's kitchen on the 3rd floor. The building is still standing, but we can't live there until they fix the damage and make sure it's safe. Were you scared? Becca asked quietly. A little. But mostly I was grateful everyone got out safely. Things can be replaced. People can't. Over the next few days, Gloria settled into one of the guest rooms. She was helpful without being intrusive, offering to cook meals and keep the children company while Amara and Julian worked. The children loved her immediately. She had endless patience for their questions and a gift for storytelling that kept them entertained for hours. One evening, Gloria made her famous chicken stew. The whole house smelled like home cooking, and even Mrs. Chen admitted it was the best meal she'd had in years. You have a gift, Mrs. Washington, Julian said as they all sat around the dinner table. Please call me Gloria. And thank you. My late husband always said my cooking could solve any problem. Her expression softened with memory. He passed 10 years ago. Heart attack. Amara was just 18. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. It was hard. Still is some days. But I had Amara and that made all the difference. She looked at her daughter with such love that Julian felt something twist in his chest. This was what family looked like. Not perfection. Not wealth. Just people who showed up for each other. After dinner, while Amara helped the children with homework, Gloria found Julian in his study. May I speak with you for a moment? Of course. She sat down, her hands folded in her lap. I wanted to thank you properly for taking me in. Not many people would open their home to a stranger the way you have. You're not a stranger. You're Amara's mother. Gloria smiled knowingly. And Amara is important to you. Julian hesitated. She's important to all of us. The children adore her. And you? How do you feel about my daughter? It was a direct question that deserved a direct answer. I care about her deeply. More than I probably should. Why should? Who made that rule? It's complicated. I'm her employer. She works for me. And Rachel, my wife, has only been gone 2 years. Feels too soon. Like I'm being disloyal. Gloria was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something my husband used to say? He'd say, Gloria, love isn't a finite resource. Loving new people doesn't diminish what you felt for those you've lost. It just means your heart has room for more. But what about Rachel? What about honoring her memory? Do you think keeping yourself isolated and lonely honors her? Or do you think she'd want you to live? To be happy? To give your children a complete family? Julian's throat tightened. I don't know. I think you do know. You're just scared to admit it. That night, Julian couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Gloria's words, about Amara, about the way his heart raced when she walked into a room. He'd been pushing these feelings down for months, telling himself they were inappropriate. Too soon. Too complicated. But the truth was simpler. He was falling in love with Amara Washington. Maybe had already fallen. Meanwhile, Amara was having her own conversation with her mother in the guest room. He's a good man, Gloria said as Amara helped her unpack her few belongings. He is. And you have feelings for him. Amara's hands stilled. Mom? Don't mom me. I've known you your whole life. I can see it in the way you look at him. The way you light up when he's in the room. It doesn't matter how I feel. I work for him. The children need stability, not their father getting involved with the help. The help? Baby, you're not the help. You're family. Those children call you when they're scared. Julian asks your opinion on everything from business deals to breakfast choices. You're not an employee anymore. You're their person. That's exactly why I can't cross that line. What if it doesn't work out? What if I lose them all? Gloria sat down on the bed and patted the space beside her. Amara sat. When your father and I met, I was his teaching assistant in college. Everyone said it was inappropriate. That we should wait until the semester was over. But your father, he looked at me one day and said, I'd rather risk everything for a chance at real love than play it safe and miss my soulmate. And that worked out for you. It gave me 30 beautiful years and a daughter I love more than life itself. So yes, it worked out. But even if it hadn't, I wouldn't regret taking that risk. Some things are worth the leap, Amara. The next day, Julian made a decision. He called his attorney and asked about the legal implications of dating an employee. The answer was clear. As long as there was no coercion and both parties were consenting adults, there was no legal issue. But the attorney suggested documenting the change in relationship status to protect both parties. Julian also did something else. He called Amara into his study and made a proposition. I'd like to fund your community center, he said without preamble. Amara blinked in surprise. What? You mentioned months ago that you wanted to open a center for grieving families? A place where people could find support, resources, healing. I want to fund it. Completely. Building, staff, programs, everything. Julian, that's incredibly generous, but I can't accept. Why not? I have the money. You have the vision. Together, we could help hundreds of families who are struggling the way mine was. It's too much. It's not enough. Amara, you've given my family everything. Let me give you this. Please. She looked at him, saw the sincerity in his eyes, and slowly nodded. Okay. Yes. Thank you. There's one condition. What? You have to promise me something. Promise that no matter what happens between us, personally or professionally, you won't give up on this dream. This center is important. It needs to exist. Will you promise me? What do you mean, between us? Julian took a breath. I mean that I care about you, Amara. More than as an employee or even as a friend. And I think you care about me too. But I need you to know that your future, your dreams, they're not contingent on staying in this house or being with me. I want to fund this center because it's the right thing to do. Not as leverage. Not as a payment. As a gift. No strings attached. Amara felt her heart pounding. Julian, you don't have to say anything right now. I just needed you to know that I see you. All of you. The compassionate, brilliant, beautiful woman you are. And that scares me because I'm not sure I deserve someone like you in my life. You deserve happiness. You deserve love. Do I? After everything I've done wrong? After being such a terrible father for so long? You were never a terrible father. You were a grieving husband trying to survive. There's a difference. They were standing close now, closer than they'd ever been. Julian reached out slowly and tucked a strand of hair behind Amara's ear. His touch was gentle, reverent. I don't want to rush this, he said softly. I don't want to mess it up. You're too important. Then we take it slow. We figure it out together. Together, he agreed. They didn't kiss. Didn't even hug. Just stood there, acknowledging what had been building between them for months. The relief of finally naming it was almost overwhelming. That evening, Julian gathered the children together. I need to talk to you both about something important. They sat on the living room couch looking nervous. You're not sending Amara away, are you? Becca asked immediately. No, never. But I need to ask you something. How would you feel if Amara and I started spending more time together? Not just as family manager, but as More? Tyler and Becca exchanged glances. Then Tyler spoke. You mean like dating? Yes, like that. Becca grinned. Can she be our new mom? Whoa, sweetheart. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm just asking if you'd be okay with us trying to be more than friends. We'd be totally okay with it, Tyler said. We already love her. And she makes you happy. We can see that. What about your mother? Would she be okay with this? Becca climbed into his lap. Mommy would want you to be happy, Daddy. She told me that once when I was little. She said if anything ever happened to her, she wanted you to find someone else to love. Someone who would take care of you and us. Julian's eyes filled with tears. She said that to you? Right before she died. She was tucking me in and she said, Becca, if Mommy ever has to go away, make sure Daddy doesn't stay sad forever. Make sure he finds someone who makes him smile. And Amara makes you smile, Daddy. Like a lot. Julian pulled both children close, overcome with emotion. Rachel had known. She'd prepared them in her way for a life after her. She'd given them permission to love again. Later, he told Amara about the conversation. She cried, touched by Rachel's final gift to her family. She must have been an incredible woman, Amara said. She was. And I think she'd really like you. I hope so. I know so. Because you both have the same heart. The same kindness. The same belief that love is the answer to everything. That night, as Amara lay in bed thinking about the day's revelations, she felt a peace she hadn't experienced in years. The pieces were falling into place. Her mother was safe. The community center was becoming a reality. And Julian, wonderful Julian, was no longer a forbidden possibility but a future she could actually imagine. Gloria knocked on her door. Can I come in? Of course, Mom. Gloria sat on the edge of the bed. I saw the way he looked at you today. The way you looked at him. It's happening. We're giving this a chance. Good. You deserve this, baby. You've spent so much of your life taking care of others. Let someone take care of you for a change. I'm scared. Of course you are. Love is terrifying. But it's also worth it. Always. As Gloria left, Amara looked out the window at the moon hanging bright over the estate. Somewhere in this house, Julian was probably lying awake too, thinking about possibilities and second chances. They were stepping into unknown territory. But they were doing it together. And that made all the difference. If this story has touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe now and share your thoughts in the comments. When did you realize Amara and Julian were meant for each other? What would you do if you found love in the middle of healing? 6 months had passed since Amara arrived at the Foster estate. What had started as a job had transformed into a life. The community center, named Rachel's Hope in honor of Julian's late wife, was under construction. Tyler and Becca were thriving in school and at home. Gloria had found a new apartment but visited the estate several times a week, having become like a grandmother to the children. And Amara and Julian were carefully, deliberately falling deeper in love. They'd taken things slow. Date nights after the children were asleep. Long conversations on the terrace. Stolen moments in the kitchen before anyone else woke up. They hadn't made their relationship public yet, wanting to give the children time to adjust and themselves space to build something solid. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Tyler came home from school, unusually quiet. Amara noticed immediately. Everything okay? She asked as he grabbed a snack from the kitchen. Sophie Rodriguez from the farm? She's in my class now. That's great. I thought you two got along well. We did. Until she told everyone that her mom says you and Dad are dating. And that you're probably just after his money like some kind of gold digger. Amara felt like she'd been slapped. Sophie said that? No. Her mom did. Sophie just repeated it. And now everyone at school is talking about it. Tyler, that's not true. Your father and I care about each other. It has nothing to do with money. I know that. But other kids don't. They're saying mean things. About you. About us. That we're replacing Mom. Before Amara could respond, Becca burst through the front door, tears streaming down her face. I hate school. I hate everyone. I'm never going back. Becca, what happened? Emma in my class said her parents saw pictures of you and Dad holding hands at a restaurant. She said you're a home wrecker and that you're making Dad forget about Mom. Amara pulled Becca into her arms, her heart breaking. Sweetheart, that's not true. Your dad could never forget your mom. And I would never try to replace her. Then why are people saying these things? Julian arrived home early, having gotten urgent calls from both children's schools about incidents involving other students' comments. He found his family gathered in the living room, Becca crying, Tyler angry, Amara looking devastated. What happened? He demanded. The media found out, Amara said quietly. About us. Julian pulled out his phone and did a quick search. His face went pale. There were photos of them from a week ago, sitting at an outdoor cafe holding hands across the table. The headline read, Tech billionaire Julian Foster moves on. Who is the mysterious Amara Washington? The article was relatively tame, but the comments section was vicious. People calling Amara a gold digger, an opportunist, someone taking advantage of a grieving widower. Others defending them, saying Julian deserved happiness. But the damage was done. I'm so sorry, Amara said. I knew this might happen. I should have been more careful. This isn't your fault, Julian said firmly. We have a right to privacy. To live our lives. But the children are being hurt, Amara countered. That's unacceptable. What do we do? Tyler asked. I'm tired of people talking about us like we're not real people with real feelings. Julian sat down with his children. First, I want you both to know something. Amara and I care about each other very much. We've been taking our time trying to do this right because you two are our priority. But yes, we're building a relationship. And I'm not ashamed of that. We're not ashamed either, Tyler said. We love Amara. We want you to be happy, Dad. It's just hard when other people are so mean. I know. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to be honest. Completely honest. No more hiding, no more secrets. Tomorrow I'm going to make a public statement. And Amara, if you're comfortable, I'd like you to be there with me. Amara hesitated. Julian, are you sure? This will open us up to even more scrutiny. I'm sure. Because hiding hasn't protected us. It's just made us vulnerable to speculation and lies. The truth is simpler and better. I'm a man who lost his wife and found a second chance at love with a woman who has made my family whole again. What about Rachel's memory? Becca asked quietly. Will people think we forgot about her? Julian knelt before his daughter. Baby girl, we could never forget your mom. But loving Amara doesn't erase what your mom meant to us. It just means our hearts have room for both. Your mom wanted us to be happy. Grandma Patricia told me that. Mom made her promise to make sure I didn't stay alone forever. She wanted us to find joy again. Really? Becca's eyes were wide. Really? Your mom's love was generous enough to want us to love again. The next morning, Julian held a press conference at his office. Amara stood beside him, wearing a simple red dress, her hand in his. The children stayed home with Gloria, watching on TV. Julian spoke clearly and without apology. I'm here today to address speculation about my personal life. Yes, Amara Washington and I are in a relationship. She came into our lives as a family manager, but she became so much more. She helped my children heal from grief. She helped me remember how to be a father. And along the way we fell in love. He turned to look at Amara, and the cameras captured the genuine affection in his eyes. Some of you may judge this. You may think it's too soon or inappropriate. But I'm not asking for your permission. My late wife Rachel was an extraordinary woman who taught me that love is the most important thing in the world. She would want her children to know happiness again. She would want me to live fully, not just survive. Amara stepped forward to the microphone, her voice steady despite her nerves. I know some people think I'm taking advantage of Julian's wealth or his grief. But I want to be very clear. I love this man. I love his children. I didn't come here looking for money or status. I came here to help a family in pain, and I stayed because they became my family too. She pulled out a document from her bag. This is a prenuptial agreement I had drawn up at my own expense. It states that I have no claim to Julian's wealth, his company, or any assets acquired before our relationship. I'm sharing this publicly because I want everyone to know that my feelings for Julian are real, not financial, just love. Julian looked shocked. Amara, you didn't have to. I did. For you. For the children. For us. I want there to be no doubt about my intentions. The press conference continued with questions, most of them respectful, some invasive. Julian handled them with grace, always bringing the conversation back to what mattered: family, healing, love. When they returned to the estate, the children ran to meet them. Tyler hugged Amara tightly. That was really brave. You're worth being brave for, Amara replied. That evening, as they all sat together watching a movie, something magical happened. Becca climbed into Amara's lap, then reached for Julian's hand, creating a bridge between them. Tyler sat on Julian's other side, his head on his father's shoulder. They were a family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real and full of love. The next few days brought mixed reactions. Some people supported them. Others remained critical. But the Foster family stopped caring about public opinion. They'd spoken their truth. They'd stood together. That was enough. One evening, Patricia called. Julian answered nervously, unsure how his mother-in-law would react to the public announcement. Julian, I saw the press conference. Patricia, You did the right thing. Being honest. Standing beside Amara. Rachel would be proud. Julian felt tears spring to his eyes. You think so? I know so. In fact, I have something to tell you. Something I should have shared weeks ago. She told him about Rachel's final request. The promise to make sure Julian didn't stay alone. The blessing to find love again. She saw you with Amara that day at the farm, Patricia continued. In the photos. And she would have loved how Amara looks at you. Like you're precious. Like you matter. That's what Rachel wanted for you. After the call, Julian found Amara in the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Patricia called. Rachel made her promise something before she died. He told her everything. About Rachel's final wish. Her blessing for him to find love again. Her generous heart that wanted happiness for her family even beyond death. Amara wiped tears from her eyes. She was incredible. She was. And so are you. Julian took both her hands. I've been holding back, afraid of moving too fast or disrespecting Rachel's memory. But I don't want to waste any more time being afraid. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you, Amara Washington. Completely. Terrifyingly. Wonderfully. I love you. I love you too, she whispered. I have for so long. He kissed her then gently at first, then deeper. The world fell away until there was only them, only this moment, only the promise of a future they'd build together. They didn't hear Tyler and Becca watching from the window, high-fiving each other with big grins. Finally, Tyler said, "Took them long enough." That night, for the first time, Amara truly felt like she belonged. Not as an employee, not as a guest, but as part of this family. This beautiful, broken, healing family that had chosen her as much as she'd chosen them. 1 year later, the morning of Amara and Julian's wedding dawned clear and bright. The ceremony was planned for the gardens of the Foster estate, an intimate gathering of close family and friends. Nothing extravagant. Nothing for show. Just the people who mattered most. Amara stood in her room looking at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress was simple and elegant, a flowing design in cream silk with delicate green embroidery around the neckline. Not white, because this wasn't about traditional expectations. It was about new beginnings. Gloria knocked and entered, her eyes immediately filling with tears. "Oh baby. You're beautiful. You think Dad would approve? Your father would be over the moon. He always said you deserved someone who would love you as fiercely as you love others. Julian is that person." There was another knock and Becca peeked in, wearing a beautiful blue dress that she picked out herself. "Amara? Can I come in?" "Of course, sweetheart." Becca entered carrying a small box. "I have something for you. From Dad and Tyler and me." Inside the box was a delicate necklace. A pendant with 3 stones, emerald, sapphire, and diamond. "The emerald is Tyler's birthstone," Becca explained. "The sapphire is mine. And the diamond is Mom's. Because we want you to know you're not replacing her. You're joining our family. All of us together." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received. Will you wear it today?" "Absolutely." She put the necklace on and Gloria helped fasten it. In the mirror, Amara saw not just a bride, but a woman surrounded by love. A family she'd built through kindness, patience, and unwavering commitment. Meanwhile, downstairs, Julian stood in his study with Tyler, both of them in matching navy suits. Julian was nervous, his hands shaking slightly as he tried to fix his tie for the 3rd time. "Dad, relax. She already said yes. The hard part's over." Julian laughed. "I know. I want this to be perfect. For her. For all of you. It is perfect. Because we're all together." Tyler paused. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you think Mom would really be okay with this? With you marrying Amara?" Julian sat down, pulling his son beside him. "I think your mom is somewhere smiling right now. Because Amara brought us back to life. She reminded us how to laugh, how to love, how to be a family again. That's what your mom wanted most. For us to be happy. I miss her sometimes. Even though I love Amara. You can do both, buddy. You can miss your mom and love Amara at the same time. They're different kinds of love, but both are real and important." Tyler nodded, satisfied. "I'm glad you found each other." "Me too." The ceremony began at 3 o'clock. Chairs were set up in the garden where Becca and Tyler had once played while Amara supervised. Where Julian had first realized he was falling in love. Where this family had slowly, beautifully come back together. Patricia sat in the front row, dabbing at her eyes. Gloria beside her, the two women having formed a close friendship over the past year. Friends and business associates filled the other seats, but the atmosphere was warm and personal, not formal. The string quartet began playing. First Becca walked down the aisle as flower girl, scattering red rose petals. Then Tyler, who was serving as both ring bearer and best man. He stood beside his father, both of them watching the end of the aisle. And then Amara appeared. She walked slowly, savoring every moment. No one was giving her away because she belonged to herself, choosing freely to join this family. Her eyes found Julian's and the rest of the world disappeared. He was crying openly, not bothering to hide his tears. This woman had saved him in every way a person could be saved. The ceremony was officiated by the director of Rachel's Hope Community Center, a woman named Reverend Brooks who'd known both Julian and Amara through their work with grieving families. Her words were simple but profound. We gather today to celebrate love. Not first love, which can be powerful but often naive. And not last love, because who knows what the future holds. But rather we celebrate chosen love. Love that knows loss and chooses hope anyway. Love that understands pain and offers healing. Love that sees brokenness and believes in wholeness. She turned to Julian and Amara. You two have walked through fire separately and emerged ready to walk through life together. The journey that brought you here was not easy. But it was necessary. Because you needed to become who you are now to be ready for each other. Julian and Amara had written their own vows. Julian spoke first, his voice strong despite his emotions. Amara, when you walked into my life, I was a shell of a person. I'd forgotten how to be a father, a friend, a human being. But you didn't give up on me. You didn't accept my walls or my fears. You gently, persistently loved us back to life. Today, I promise to love you with the same dedication. To be present. To choose you every single day. To build a life with you that honors both the past we've survived and the future we're creating. Amara's turn. She took a breath, looking at Julian with eyes full of love. Julian, I came here to do a job. But what I found was a home. You taught me that family isn't just about blood or tradition. It's about showing up. About staying when things get hard. About choosing each other repeatedly. Today I choose you. I choose Tyler. I choose Becca. I choose this beautiful, imperfect, wonderful family we're building together. And I promise to never stop choosing you. The rings were simple bands. Julian's was platinum. Amara's had a small inscription inside, Love makes room for more. When Reverend Brooks pronounced them married, Julian didn't wait for permission. He pulled Amara close and kissed her deeply, pouring every ounce of gratitude and love into that moment. Tyler and Becca cheered. The guests applauded. And somewhere, in the warm summer air, it felt like Rachel was smiling too. The reception was held in a large tent on the lawn. Instead of a formal dinner, they'd arranged for a community feast. Families from the farm were there. Clients from Rachel's Hope. Teachers from the children's school. People whose lives had been touched by this family's journey. During the toasts, Patricia stood up. I wasn't sure I'd ever stand at an event like this. For a long time, I held on to anger and grief. I thought keeping Julian isolated somehow honored my daughter's memory. But I was wrong. What honors Rachel is this: her children happy and whole. Her husband alive again and in love. And Amara, a woman who embodies everything Rachel valued: kindness, strength, and unwavering love. To the bride and groom, Gloria's toast was simpler. To my daughter, who has the biggest heart I've ever known. And to Julian, who was smart enough to see what a treasure he'd found. May you have 50 years of joy together. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant orange and pink, a crisis struck. Not at the wedding but in the city. News came through that a massive storm had hit, causing widespread flooding. The community center, Rachel's Hope, was being used as an emergency shelter, but they were overwhelmed with families needing help. Amara saw Julian check his phone, saw his expression change. What's wrong? The center. They need help. Hundreds of families are showing up. They don't have enough staff or supplies. Amara didn't hesitate. Let's go. What? It's our wedding. And those are our people. Our community. Come on. She kicked off her delicate wedding shoes and grabbed a pair of sneakers from her room. Julian loosened his tie. They found Tyler and Becca. Were needed at the center. Want to come? The children didn't hesitate either. Within 20 minutes, the entire wedding party, still in their formal clothes, arrived at Rachel's Hope Community Center. The scene was chaotic. Families with young children, elderly people who'd been evacuated from flooded areas, people scared and displaced. The staff was trying their best, but they were overwhelmed. Amara immediately took charge. Okay, everyone. Let's set up a system. Patricia, can you manage intake and registration? Gloria, you're on food distribution. Tyler, Becca, you're in charge of the children's area. Get them settled, keep them calm. Julian and I will coordinate with emergency services for additional supplies. For the next 4 hours they worked. Amara in her wedding dress, now streaked with dirt, carrying boxes of supplies. Julian in his suit, helping elderly evacuees find beds. Tyler and Becca reading stories to scared children, offering comfort. The media showed up, of course. Photos of the newlyweds serving their community on their wedding day went viral. But this time the coverage was unanimously positive. This was what leadership looked like. What love looked like. What family looked like. Around midnight, when the worst of the crisis had passed and additional emergency workers had arrived, Julian found Amara in a quiet corner, exhausted but glowing. Some wedding night, he said. She laughed. Best one I could imagine. Really? Most people would want dinner and dancing. Most people aren't us. She leaned against him. This is who we are, Julian. People who show up. Who help. Who put others first. I wouldn't change a single thing about today. He kissed her forehead. I love you so much. I love you too. They gathered Tyler and Becca, who were both asleep on cots in the children's area. Julian carried Becca. Tyler walked between them, holding both his father's and Amara's hands. As they drove home in the early morning hours, still in their wedding clothes, Amara thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that first terrible night when she'd arrived at a house full of broken people, to this moment, a family complete and whole. They'd chosen each other. Through grief and healing. Through judgment and celebration. Through ordinary days and extraordinary crises. And they would keep choosing each other. Every single day. Back at the estate they tucked the children into bed. Tyler mumbled sleepily, best wedding ever. Even though we spent it helping flood victims? Julian asked. Especially because of that. That's what makes us special. In their room, they'd moved into a shared room months ago, a decision the children had celebrated. Julian and Amara finally had a quiet moment alone. We're married, Amara said as if just realizing it. We are. You're stuck with me now. Good. Because you're stuck with me too. They talked until dawn, making plans for their future. The center needed expansion. The children needed to register for summer camp. Gloria wanted to start volunteering more. Patricia had suggested a family vacation to the beach, where Rachel had always loved to go. Life stretched before them, full of possibility and promise. As the sun rose on their first full day as husband and wife, Julian pulled Amara close. Thank you, he whispered. For staying. For not giving up on us. For loving us even when we were unlovable. You were always lovable. You just needed someone to remind you how. Well, you did. You reminded me how to live. They kissed as golden light filled the room. Outside birds sang. The world kept turning. And in this house that had once been a tomb of grief, love had taken root and grown into something beautiful. Kindness had led them here. Hope had sustained them. And love, generous and fierce, would carry them forward. Together. Always together.